I see you. Say hello to the crowd.
Welcome to the first ever Thursday Threads online book club.
And as of right now, nobody's watching. But you've already got a like. So apparently somebody's watching.
So I had heard a lot about the Elm Creek Quilts series, and I chose this book as our very first book.
Everything's backwards.
Oh,
Everything's backwards.
okay.
We'll have to work on that.
Bear with us. This is our first ever live, so we're kind of working out the kinks and trying to figure everything out. And my husband just said everything's backwards, so if you can't read this, it's okay.
If you would give us a hello so we know who's watching. I believe Vicki Larimore has joined us. And
Hey, Vicki.
it says 5 are watching, but
Wonderful. I can't wait for y'all to put in some comments and tell me, first of all, what you thought of the book. It has been a long time since I've read a book. This was really exciting for me because with the myasthenia gravis, it made it really difficult, double vision and different things. So this was really exciting for me that with my new treatments, I was able to read an actual physical book and be able to read the print.
I'm sorry, honey. I'm going to interrupt for just a second. If you are with us, if you would please comment, and if things are not working correctly, comment on that too, because this is our first live, so we're working out the kinks.
Introduce you to my husband, David, who is my IT guy, an all-around fixer.
And recently, I spent most of my time working on this.
And a chicken and rabbit. But it's been a long time since I've read a book, number one. But two, for one that I had a lot of trouble putting down. And I did. I had a lot of trouble putting this book down. And I actually looked it up on YouTube. And there was an interview on a morning news show from about 7 years ago. And the commentator called her Jennifer Chiaverini. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it, because that's how the news guy pronounced it, Chiaverini. And this was her very first book of the series. And it says on the back it was a powerful debut novel. So, thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you guys think overall? We'll just start with that. Did we like it? Did we love it? Did we just go meh? I loved it.
And Vicki, there's actually a clear roof over the bottom layer of rabbits, so it will actually roll out the back.
Yes, they're not going to be pooping on each other. was one of the big things that we were looking for, was some way to get rid of the poop trays and be able to stack them and have them not be messing up on each other. So no tinkling or poo-pooing on each other.
Oh, and Vicky, I haven't read it either. Like I said, I've been working on the rabbitry while she sat in here reading.
I admit I did. I sat in here reading. I had such a terrible job to do. It was wonderful. I liked, the very first thing I noticed was that, a lot of times when you read books, it's about this gorgeous, beautiful, rich woman who has everything going for her and she's jet setting across the world. And I really liked the fact that these were real people. You had a fairly newlywed couple having to deal with job loss and then moving. So she's lost her job to move so he could have a job. And she wasn't perfect. She messed up a lot in her interview. She was a little impulsive. She wasn't perfect. And I liked that about it. That was one I could really relate to. I also liked that her feelings about the house. Sometimes you have a dream and you want it so badly that it hurts. You can taste it, you can feel it, you can see it. But it's so close, but it still might as well be a million miles away. And I could really empathize with that, because that's kind of where David and I are at. We would really like to get some property and have a real, not just a teeny tiny Tennessee homestead. I'm sorry, a teeny tiny Tennessee quarter-acre homestead. We would actually like to have a little bit of acreage. So her feelings of how she was working so hard on the house to make it, fixed up and beautiful, and knowing that it was going to be for somebody else, and she's seeing and dreaming and learning about the people. Again, I just felt that was such a real emotion that I became very invested in her, even with her fights with her husband. Reasonable, unreasonable, it was real. Did you guys think that Sylvia Compson was kind of stereotyped? As I admit, I did at first. But I like the way they explained it, and this was such a mystery. We had, and I think that's why I couldn't put it down, is I wanted to know more of what happened at the house. Why didn't Sylvia come back? What happened to Richard? What happened to Claudia? I was just wondering if we had any comments. Okay. I think one of the things I loved the most, though, is the little tidbits of quilt history. Did you guys pick up on the log cabin quilt? And I'd already learned about how the center square, and I think I even mentioned it in a previous quilt video, that the center was normally red, and that represented the hearth and home. I had not read about it being yellow, representing a candle in the window. I had not read about the center being black, representing that the when it's on the wash line, that it would be representative of a safe house during the Civil War. But what I realized, it was page 235. I made notes. I made some notes here of things I wanted to talk about. But page 235 and 236, they were making a quilt, and she was young. It was her great aunt. And says, do you see how one half of the block is dark fabric and the other is light? The dark half represents the sorrows in life, and the light colors represent the joys. I thought about that. Then why don't you give her a quilt with all light fabrics? Oh, it makes sense. Well, I could, but then she wouldn't be able to see the pattern. The design only appears if you have both dark and light fabric. But I don't want Elizabeth to have any sorrows. Oh, I don't either, love, but sorrows come to us all. But don't worry, remember these? She touched several red squares in a row and smiled. As long as these home fires keep burning, Elizabeth will always have more joys than sorrows. I studied the pattern. The red squares are keeping the sorrow part away from the light part. That's exactly right, my great aunt exclaimed. What a bright little girl you are. I'm going to have a really tough time ever making a log cabin quilt or block again without thinking about this and the symbolism of that. I just really thought that was a lovely sentiment. And I love picking up on other things like the superstition of, and I don't remember, I wrote down turkey trot, but I'm wondering if it was turkey tracks, also known as the wandering foot block, the one that they were going to make for the baby, Richard, and the superstition that if you made that, then that person would always have a wandering foot and never be happy to stay at home. So all the little tidbits of the folklore, the superstitions, that was really interesting to me. Did you guys pick up on anything that I might have missed? Well, before we go any further, I just want to say thank you so much for all of you who have joined us. I'm so glad that you're here. There was another part that I found very profound. It was page 108. Don't wish for excitement. Interesting doesn't always mean good. Sometimes the most ordinary things are the ones we learn to miss the most. And I don't normally write in books, but I had to mark that because I really thought that was very true. So I like the way Jennifer added in some truisms, some the history. I loved the name of the quilt shop, Grandma's Attic. No grandma, no attic, but I just thought that was a great name. And I liked their quilt group's name, Tangled Web. So they were the Tangled Webbers. Who was your favorite character? I couldn't pick. I thought they were all very, very well developed. I felt like they were very real. They had flaws. They had faults. They had some good things. They were just people. And I very much want to continue to read the series, at least a couple more, to see if the author can continue with this kind of character development, just making them real people.
Hi, Chris from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hey, Chris. So glad you could join us. So did you read the book? What did you think? And has everyone finished the book? Because I certainly don't want to give away any spoilers. So, But I have to admit, I almost cried at one point. Did anybody else have their heart just like, ugh, how could you do that? But again, very realistic. Welcome to everybody if you're just joining.
Chris says, hello, me too. I just came in. What book are you discussing? It sounds wonderful.
Oh, The Quilter's Apprentice. I could not put it down. I had to, but I didn't want to. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It was one I just had to keep. I had to find out what happened next. I said, why did Sylvia leave Elm Creek Manor and never come back for 50 years? What happened? And did anybody else have a foretelling of how it was going to end?
I don't think Chris read it either.
Well, I certainly don't want to give away any spoilers, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of what happened. I'll leave that to you. Tell you another thing that I liked about it was the relationship, but they enjoyed being in each other's company. It was a big thing for her when she, went somewhere without him, because normally he was always driving and they always went everywhere together. That's David and me.
And I'm not sure if y'all saw that, but there was a little bit of hiccup with my software, so.
Oh, yeah, bear with us. We're learning. I did find the relationships in here to be, there's good, there's bad, there was slow starts, and then it grew and it built. None of them were fast friends from the jump. They had to grow. And again, I think that was just, I really believe, at least in this book, I have not read any of her other books, but in this book, I really believe the author had a good finger on how friendships grow, how groups interact. She has a good feel for group dynamics.
Thanks, Chris.
What?
She said, no worries, I'm new to this too.
Okay. But it's almost like a mystery. Like I said, trying to find out what happens next. And I don't know about if you guys, every time they would come up with a new quilt block, I had to go look it up to see what it looked like and go, could I make that? And I learned a little bit. I don't know that I'm quite ready to sit down with my making templates and cutting out all the pieces using templates. I like my rotary cutter. And I don't know that I'm quite ready to do hand sewing of all my pieces. Definitely admire Sylvia and Sarah and the other ladies that writing about it. That how they would, they kind of said, these are the machine sewers and we're the real quilters. We do it. But it was all in fun. They were teasing each other. And did any of you guys want to suddenly find a quilting group where you could join in on a quilting bee? Because I did. It was one of those things of, I wonder if I could get my ladies at my church to all get together, and then it was like, oh, I don't have a quilting frame. I wonder if I get my husband to build me a quilting frame. And I thought, no, I want him to finish the rabbitry first.
I'm never finished.
No, you're not. All kinds of projects. Well, I have already told my husband, I told him I had some bad news for him, as I want to read the rest of the series. But I have to make a couple of videos first. So my reward for making a couple more videos will be I get to get the second book and read it.
And how many books did you say there were?
There are 21 books in the series. Plus, oh, it gets better, baby doll. Plus, there are books that have the patterns that are discussed in all the books. And I think there's even a cookbook that will give you the recipes of all the foods that they eat. And I was thinking, oh boy, we could almost be, the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls go quilting, sitting around eating cheesecake, drinking coffee, and sewing quilts. I don't know, that sounds fun. Who's with me? Come on, come to Chattanooga, let's do it. This was an excellent book. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, there was a couple moments where I wanted to cry. But I also like the fact the author didn't dwell on those. It was a fact of life. It happened. And we move on. And I liked that she compared how different people react to things. Agnes or Agnes, the French pronunciation, Agnes, that, Sylvia and Agnes had different ways of handling very similar situations. And again, true to life. Well, I was thinking, and I have already read this book, so I already know this is a great book. Second Tuesday of October, we'll talk about The Cat, the Quilt, and the Corpse. And this is another series. It's a Cat's in Trouble, and not as much quilting going on, but it does, have some in it. And she is able to make a living for herself doing some quilting for animals. But Leanne Sweeney, and this will be in our Amazon shop along with the Quilter's Apprentice. And
so Chris, who says that it's nice to be able to talk with both of us.
Yes.
And that she's going to get the book. Now she knows where to get the book from.
All right. Yes, just go to our Amazon shop.
And she says, quilting, blocks, and cooking up my alley.
There you go. Chris, if you just moved, here to Chattanooga, I think you and I'd be good friends. Chris, maybe I could talk my husband into moving closer to North Carolina.
Well, if the price is right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I need land.
We need some land, and I would like to go north. I went to the doctor's.
Chris says she'd love that.
Yeah. I went to the doctor's today, and I had this T-shirt on about the Adairsville, the Great Locomotive Chase. Wonderful little story in that. The first Congressional Medals of Honor were given, and some posthumously, to the men who stole the general. If you go to the Chattanooga National Cemetery, you'll see some of their graves, and there's a big train. Wonderful, wonderful story, true story. But my doctor said, "Oh, did you go to the festival?" I said, "No, we just gone to the museum, and we'd been down there in Rome for a geocaching event." And it turned out he and his wife had lived there in Rome for a while. And I was thinking, if Rome, Georgia would be a couple hours north instead of a couple hours south, I would move there in a heartbeat. But we'd like to go north, just a little north, a little bit cooler weather. Chattanooga's got mountains all around it, and so sometimes like when winter comes and snow, it hits those mountains and just skirts on around us. And I kind of miss having some snow. If you haven't read The Quilter's Apprentice, I highly recommend it. Like I said, some very good character development, a nice web of characters, interesting ideas. Have y'all ever, excuse me, I knew I should have made some tea or something. Nicholas Sparks, David and I watched a couple of the movies adapted from his books, and how we're in present day, but you get taken into the past and the story is being told. That's a lot of what she does. And you don't get the full story all at once. You have to piece it all together, which makes it just fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I said a nice range of characters. And now that we've gotten to know them, and what I'm hoping is the next book will bring all of these people back, and that we can really get to know them better. Sylvia Thompson would not want to be on her bad side, not by any long shot. But I definitely would want to be on her good side. And I think that's what I want to be like. I'm going to be like Sylvia when I grow up. And I am hoping her other books will go into more of the superstitions and the stories behind the blocks. I find that fascinating. So, 2 thumbs up from this gal on The Quilter's Apprentice by Jennifer Chiaverini. And like I said, I did get that from an interview. And the commentator, that's how the commentator pronounced it. So if I messed up, it's his fault. Next month, we will do The Cat, the Quilt, and the Corpse by Leanne Sweeney. Check out our Amazon page. There is a book section, a variety of books that we have really enjoyed, and some of my favorites that are on there. Quilter's Apprentice is definitely on that list. Just absolutely excellent. And maybe because I was able to actually sit down and read it. That was exciting. Cat, the Quilt, and the Corpse next time. And then we'll decide on the one for November.
In between now and then, I'll get better at setting up this live feed.
And between now and then, he'll get better at setting up live feed. But just like the quilting, you don't know till you know. And it takes practice.
Yeah, it's a lot different than doing it at church. I've got a lot of different equipment at church.
David, during the pandemic, David set everything up at the church to be able to live stream it. And even now, he's there and he's got some helpers. So all of our services, you can be there in person or you can watch on YouTube or Facebook or the website. And I have to tell you, he doesn't like praise much, but I am so proud of him. Number one, for everything he's done for the church, how he helps me with getting my sewing area set up, how he's helping me with this tonight, because I wouldn't know where to begin. What he's done with the rabbitry, I just think he's amazing. He's sitting there shaking his head going, I bet they think you're pretty amazing too. Take a look at that rabbitry.
They're just a bunch of crazy quilters. They've been sniffing too much fabric.
Yes, we do like to pet fabric. I am really excited. We have a lot of fun things coming up. I've gotten another box from the So What box, and I can't wait to open it. There's some new projects in there. One of them is dealing with vinyl, clear vinyl. Never done that before, so cross your fingers for me. And I purchased a couple templates to try to make some baskets and different things. I'm getting a little adventurous, getting out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to do all the things that I encourage you guys to do. Try something new. Don't be afraid. Remember, a life lived in fear is a life half lived. Don't be afraid. What's the worst going to happen? Excuse me. I ruin a half a yard of fabric. Life won't end. When I was teaching, I taught some elementary, and you know how kids can be, any kid is. Feelings get hurt for something, and I would always tell them, are all the flowers in your front yard going to just suddenly die because this person said this? Well, no. Are your parents' tires on their car just going to suddenly fall off? And I would do what I could to get them laughing about, none of this is going to happen, and it's all okay. And I remember the little girl that was, she called a little boy fish face, and he was very hurt by it. And I just bided my time. And a few weeks later, somebody was making fun of her on the school bus, and I loved on her and kind of went through the whole thing. But I also said, now you know how, let's say Joey. Now you know how Joey felt when you did this. And you could just see the light bulb go off. And the rest of that year, she was our biggest anti-bullying, advocate. And I still try to remember that. If this is the worst thing that happens to us today, we're doing pretty good. I hope you are doing wonderful, and I really hope you pick up this book and read it. I don't think you'll regret it. And I hope to see you back here on Thursday Threads for all of the new exciting stuff. Keep your fingers crossed for me that I'm able to do all the things. My mind is just going crazy of all the things I want to do. I want to make apple pie filling, and I want to make cheesecake, which I've never done. I want to make these baskets, and I want to make quilted ornaments, and I want to. I had this huge list. I'm afraid my list of wants are more than what I have, but we will see. We'll see what we can get done.
Have you decided on the date for your...
The second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
So you can plan on the second Tuesday of every month.
Mark your calendars.
So the second Tuesday of October, we'll do the Leanne Sweeney book. And of course, I'm open to suggestions for November. Okay, so if you've got any books that have quilting in it, or any kind of sewing, shoot them our way. You can find us on Facebook under the Thursday Threads Book Club, Crazy Dave's Crew, and Sewing and Crocheting for Beginners. But send us a message. Let me know if you've got any ideas for an upcoming book. And I will see you next time. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Be sure to check out our Amazon group, our Amazon shop. It is an affiliate link, so anytime you buy something through us, we do get a little bit, and it kind of helps support the channel. If you would like to kind of help out with the rabbitry, lumber prices being what they are, check out Free Funder. And of course, keep watching and sharing. That is always a big boost. Always makes me feel good. Get those comments and the likes coming. And just know that we will see you here next time on Crazy Dave's Crew. I'm so glad you joined, whether you were here live with us at our very first live session, or if you've joined us with this having been pre-recorded. We are so glad you joined. And we hope to see you again.
Are we done?
I'm expecting the drum roll or something. Da-da-da, we're done.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I am so glad you were here. I was afraid I was going to be here all by myself.
Tell them good night.
Good night, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, my husband's laughing at me.